Hi, everybody. I'm Skip Alzheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime Streaming Show, where we watch old 16mm films and try to figure out what's going on. So that last film was a cornet film that we scanned, which unfortunately didn't have a soundtrack, and I want to find that soundtrack. And there were some questions in the comments. Was this Czech animation? Was this Japanese animation? My guess, because I don't know, but my guess, based on some other cornet stuff that we've transferred, is that this was Japanese. Given the time period and some of the other films that Cornet licensed, they were from Japanese sources. But I don't know for sure. I have no idea. We didn't really see any credits. So, anyways, there we go. Would love to find the information about it and find the soundtrack. So, anyways, speaking of 16mm films, let's learn about A Wild Place and Squirrels. Enjoy.
Let's go to a wild place and see what's there. Let's look at some of the things that live together in this kind of wild place. Squirrel woodlands. It's spring here in the woodlands. Leaves will soon begin to grow on the deciduous trees again. The trees were bare during the winter. In the spring, sunshine can reach the ground, where the green leaves of the wildflowers begin to grow. Insects are attracted by the colors of the flowers and help pollinate them. These early flowers will soon fade and die as leaves fill the trees and shade the ground. More needles are growing on the evergreen trees, too. They stayed green all winter, as coniferous trees do. Some plants only grow in the shade, like the pink lady slippers. These are also called moccasin flowers. There's a squirrel. Many animals find food and shelter in woodlands. That's a mouse-like animal called a vole. It's searching for food among the leaves that fell from the trees last autumn. Voles are plant eaters. Some eat seeds, flowers, fruits, leaves, or roots. This white-tailed deer is going to a woodland clearing. Deer eat the plants that grow here. But the deer stays alert. When it senses danger, it runs back to the woods. Foxes hunt for small animals, not for deer. This gray fox is nocturnal. It usually hunts at night. But sometimes it hunts in the daytime. This fox sees a mockingbird's nest. This is the only kind of fox that can climb trees. Sometimes, a fox will try to steal bird eggs. The mockingbird tries to protect its eggs by screeching at the fox to scare it away. But the fox isn't frightened. The fox gets the egg it was after. Look, there's a rat. It can run fast, but not as fast as a fox. Foxes eat rats, too. Some birds, like the blue jay, eat seeds as well as insects. You can recognize a blue jay by the harsh sound it makes. A cardinal has a prettier song. It eats seeds and insects too. This is a grosbeak. It eats mainly seeds. It can easily crack even the hardest seed with its strong beak. Chipmunks are in these woodlands too. They come out of their tunnels to hunt for nuts and other seeds that they store up for winter. The trees are home to many animals here. High above the ground is a sparrowhawk nest. A sparrowhawk is a bird of prey. It's a predator that eats small animals, such as mice and large insects. It will catch them for its nestlings until they're able to hunt for themselves. One bird here in the woodlands looks for its food in the bark of the trees. The brown creeper moves up a tree using its curved beak and sharp tongue to pick insects, insect eggs, and spider eggs from under the bark. Sometimes there are holes in trees where branches have fallen off. Bees have made a home in this hole. It's late in the summer now. Woodpeckers are getting ready for the colder weather coming. This is an acorn woodpecker. Acorn woodpeckers live where there are many oak trees, especially in California. Acorns are the seeds of oak trees. The woodpeckers eat the part of the acorn inside the shell. Acorn woodpeckers store the acorns in holes in trees. They'll eat the acorns during the winter. There's a box turtle. It can box itself inside its hard shell to protect itself from danger. That's why it's called a box turtle. This kind of turtle spends most of its life on land. It's not a good swimmer. Much of the ground here is covered with dead leaves, dead tree trunks, and branches. Carpenter ants eat dead wood and live in the tunnels that they make. Many animals hide among the dead leaves. Salamanders do. The leaves keep the ground damp. Salamanders need damp places to live in. This kind is a tiger salamander. It's the biggest kind of salamander that lives on land. But woodland toads can live where it's dry. Toads eat insects, like this cricket. Many earthworms live in woodlands. They eat their way through the soil, forming tunnels that help air to enter the soil, which is good for trees and other woodland plants. Sowbugs eat dead leaves as well as wood. They're also called woodlice. They're usually found in tree bark or on the ground in the woodlands. They're not insects. Neither are millipedes. They also eat dead leaves and wood, which helps decompose them and change them into materials that make the soil rich. Sowbugs and millipedes are called decomposers. A rotting log can become food for other living things. Mushrooms and toadstools grow on them. They use the decomposing wood as food. Toadstools are poisonous to many living things, but not to gray squirrels. Toadstools are food for them. Other squirrels in the woodlands eat pine tree seeds. Red squirrels pick cones from pine trees. Seeds grow inside the cones. Pine seeds will help the squirrel live through the winter in this wild place, Squirrel Woodlands.
So this is a kinescope, so it was shot off of television. You can see there's a curvature towards the like here, here, and then here in the corners there was a curve, and I zoomed in a little bit when we did the post on this, but you could see the monitor, so it's kind of wild. Speaking of wild, the film that is set up behind me is Handling Criticism. It's for people who it's beginning job skills, I believe, and there's a lot of yelling in this, just in the intro. So let me change the title of this. Handling Criticism. So I think it's basically handling criticism of your boss and of customers. Enjoy.
Now just look at this. Now just exactly what are you going to do about my hair?
Well, look, it's not just the hairstyle. Why are you criticizing me? Stop it. Just who do you think you are? You don't treat people like that. Don't try to take out your problems on me.
Oh, forget it, Gray. Just forget it. Then don't make mistakes.
Now, the last girl, she wasn't able to understand what I wanted. Of course, I'm interested in the new hairstyles, but some of them just aren't me.
I know, it's very difficult to get just the right style.
Yes, and with prices what they are today, one has to be so careful.
Very true.
This inflation is really something, isn't it?
Here, I'm just about finished. There. Take a look in the mirror. How do you like it?
Well, I don't know. I don't think it's... Well, it looks too short.
Well,
The sides are uneven. You cut off too much. I thought you understood what I wanted.
I only trimmed a little bit off the front.
No, no, no. I asked you not to touch the front. Just to trim off a little bit.
Well, I think it looks very nice.
Oh, now just look at this. Now, just exactly what are you going to do about my hair?
What am I going to do about it? Well, look, it's not just the hairstyle. Why are you criticizing me?
Well, I certainly have a right to say something
Well,
about
nothing's right for you. You know, it's people like you that... Don't you realize that I'm human, too, and I have feelings just like anyone else?
Young lady, your employer will have something to say about your nasty attitude.
Look, I don't have to take this from you.
There has to be a better way. I don't want to feel paranoid.
Now, just look at this. Now, just exactly what are you going to do about my hair?
Well, Mrs. Watson, if you'll tell me exactly what's wrong, I'll do my best to fix it.
Well, there isn't much you can do, I'm afraid. Well, you see if you can lift this up, just to make it even. Yes, that's better. Now, will you comb this out a little bit? Yes, well, that's so much better.
There we are. Yeah, I
Yes.
think that does look better.
Well, you'll just have to be more careful next time.
I will.
Can I ask for you the next time I come in?
Certainly.
Thank you, dear.
Goodbye, Mrs. Watson.
I'll see you in about 2 weeks.
All right, goodbye.
Phil.
Again?
Yes, it's the third time this month. What's wrong, Phil?
Did I say something was wrong?
You don't have to tell me if you don't want to, but it's the third time this has happened this month. Your totals are off, and twice your control figures were off.
How far off was I this time?
This time, $180.
I guess we'll have to start again.
Yes, we will.
I'm sorry, Carol.
Phil, something's wrong. It's taking us entirely too long to balance out the subsidiary accounts. And Mr. Simon isn't going to put up with this much longer.
No, I won't, huh?
Phil, what's wrong? I'll be glad to help if I can.
I don't know. It's just impossible to understand this adjusted subsidiary system.
Well, that's pretty stupid, isn't it? You don't even know what you're doing, and you're making us both look bad.
But I really...
Let's face it, Phil. Some people are just... Even you know what'll happen. You'll get the axe.
It's tough to say, Carol, but I make mistakes because I don't understand, and I'm afraid to make mistakes.
Well, I guess that happens to just about everybody, Phil. We all worry about things, especially bad things that might happen. And sometimes our worrying just makes them happen.
I guess you're right. Why worry about the possibilities when there's so many real problems to take care of?
Here, I've been studying this, and it explains a lot. Especially about the relationship between the subsidiary accounts and the control accounts.
Thanks, Carol. I'll read it tonight.
I have to get back to work now.
Oh, thanks for being so nice about all this.
Sure.
Hi there, Mr. Dickens. What can I do for you today?
Hi. I brought my car in here for a tune-up a couple days ago.
Yeah, the green Chevy, right?
Yeah, my wife picked it up yesterday. The bill was ready, and somebody said the car was ready, too.
Yeah, the car was ready. Tune-up, grease, oil change.
Hmm? Well, you charged me here for electrical work. Electrical work.
Yeah, what?
Well, the alternator light still goes on when the engine idles.
There's nothing wrong with the alternator. I checked it myself. Must be a short in the dash or in the light socket. Well, I couldn't take the whole car apart.
Where'd you learn to be a mechanic?
Oh. Let's go inside and talk it over.
What does this guy take me for? He doesn't care. He cares about the money. I better stay calm, though.
That hurts. He's a regular customer, and I thought I could save him some money here.
Do you, know anything about alternators?
Look it, I double-checked the whole electrical system. Nothing. I did it more as a favor than anything else. I should have sent you to your dealer. I don't know what's causing the trouble. It's not your alternator. It might be a short.
What about the bill?
Well, I didn't charge you for fixing the alternator, lad. I charged you for checking your electrical system. Now, that's a labor charge. Here, look at the bill. Now, I don't want you to walk out of here feeling cheated. Now, you tell me what you want me to do.
Well, is there anything you can do about the alternator?
Okay. Bring the car back in. I'll check it once more. But if I don't find anything, you got to take it to your dealer.
Maybe I was wrong. Seems on the level. Doesn't seem like he's trying to con me.
Okay, Pat. That seems fair enough.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Dickens.
See you again.
Right.
You seem to be very upset this morning, Cynthia.
Yes, something happened in the office today, and then Helen said it was my fault. Oh, I don't know. I guess she was in a really bad mood, and once she started, it just seemed to build and build.
But what happened? What did you do?
I took it. Then when she started to criticize me, I left.
People are like that sometimes, Cynthia.
Well, I know what I should have done, what I felt like doing.
did you leave these files like this?
What do you mean, Helen?
These correspondence files, they are all messed up.
I haven't touched them. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, then just how did the files get on my desk?
Stop it. Just who do you think you are? You don't treat people like that. Don't try to take out your problems on me.
But these files are all... What I mean is, this is not my job.
Well, I didn't mess them up either. But that doesn't make any difference to you, does it?
Well, yes, it makes a difference, but...
Well...
Oh, I don't know. This whole thing has me all twisted up inside. I don't know.
Do you still feel that way, Cynthia?
No, I guess not. She was in a bad mood. I guess it was best to just leave her alone.
Hi, Helen.
Hi, Mary.
Good morning, Helen.
Are you two still angry at each other?
I'm not angry at Helen.
Not me.
Well, I'm glad you're not angry at each other. You see, Cynthia told me about the files being all disorganized and everything, and it wasn't Cynthia's fault or your fault, Helen. You see, Mr. Basco stayed late last night, and he was using those files. And you know how he is, especially when he's concentrating on something.
Cynthia, I'm really sorry for being so nasty. I mean it.
Oh, that's all right. I shouldn't have talked to you that way.
Yes?
Hank Johnson is here to see you, sir.
Send him in, please.
Hank Johnson's a good boy. Gonna be a good engineer. Have to build a fire alarm.
Come in, Johnson. I'll get right to the point.
Yes, sir, Dr. Gray. I know you wanted to see me.
What about this delay in the exact project? Sit down, Johnson. And your request for additional computer time.
Well, yes, sir, Dr. Gray. In terms of the exact project, I'm afraid that's my fault, sir. I made a mistake in the pre-planning stages of the estimates that carried over.
That's not good enough. When I assign a man to a project, I want him to do it right, to do it fast, and to do it now.
Well, yes, I understand, sir, but...
I've got a lot tied up in this project. I can't afford any bottlenecks. Now, how do you expect to meet your target date?
Well, after I discovered I'd made the mistake, sir, I went over the entire program. We were using a PERT system, and so I checked the entire sequential operations on the critical...
When I hired you, it was because I thought you could handle responsibility and authority. We have a lot of major projects coming up in this firm very soon, and I thought you were the man for the job. Was I wrong when I estimated your research background? Was I wrong about you?
Dr. Gray, I only made one mistake.
No, you didn't make the mistake. I made the mistake, and it was in hiring you in the first place.
Just a minute, Gray. I worked for you.
Then don't make mistakes.
Oh, forget it, Gray. Just forget it. And, sir, that's why I requisitioned some additional computer time. If I'm right, we'll be able to make up the delay and gain some time.
And you think that will really work?
Yes, I do. In fact, I have the math right here, if you'd like to take a look at it.
No, never mind. I don't need to look at the math, Hank. I'll approve your request for additional computer time. But hold it down.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
One more thing. Don't believe everything you hear about my temper. I demand excellence from my staff. I want people to perform up to their fullest potential, and I usually get it.
Yes, sir, I understand.
Drop in any time you have a problem.
Thank you very much.
I'll walk you to the door.
Mrs. Watson, if you'll tell me exactly what's wrong, I'll do my best to fix it.
Now, I don't want you to walk out of here feeling cheated. What would you like me to do?
That's all right. I shouldn't have talked to you that way.
Awesome. Although, having worked retail for, I don't know, 5 years, something like that, and working a phone hotline, I certainly dealt with that a lot. So that did bring back some unpleasant memories of past interactions with people. So I hope that that did not trigger you in some way where you're just like going, everybody's mean. What do we got? Yeah, let's Let's watch this Air Force film about discipline. Enjoy.
The noisy, turbulent 60s separate us from an earlier time, a time when things were quieter. The truth is that most of our major institutions, in a very short time, have lost much of the hold they used to have on the minds and imaginations of Americans, especially young Americans. Blind obedience to any kind of authority seems a thing of the remote past. People are asking why a lot more than they ever did before. Schools and businesses find they can no longer run smoothly on the old do-it-because-I-say-so basis. Those who find our churches the prime source of truth and light are a shrinking and aging minority. Our law enforcement agencies are subject to restraints undreamed of 20 years ago. Patriotism that says my country, right or wrong, has given way to a growing one-world feeling, a sense of loyalty to all mankind. Finally, the family, the basic social unit, has changed dramatically. How many young families can you find today in which the child says, "Sir," to the father? Whether you like it or not, whether you think it good or bad, the decline of authoritarianism in our institutions is a fact of life. Take, for instance, the institution of the Air Force.
The whole Air Force is run by threats. Clothes, the biggest problem I've ever heard of.
If following an order is a threat to your identity, you're either badly trained or you don't belong in the Air Force.
I tell my guys to get a haircut just to keep the old man off my ass. Personally, I could care less. I'd like to...
The Air Force lies to you. They tell you one thing and then turn around and do another.
The Air Force doesn't keep up with the times.
Pilots must wear goggles when flying in open cockpits.
Knickers are not to be worn by any, repeat, any flying personnel. Scarves over 4 feet in length will not be worn by any Air Force personnel.
Airmen may forego saluting on trolley cars.
So, the Air Force doesn't keep up with the times. Well, in the main business of the Air Force, in flying machines, air weaponry, space research, the Air Force is way ahead of the times. No, the gripe refers to a less apparent kind of keeping up with the times. It refers to a change that's harder to measure. This change is in people, in what they think, in what they respect, in what they're willing to give and accept from the institutions to which they belong.
Let me start out by saying that here at Lackland, in the training center, we teach discipline. This is where the young guys and the young gals come in. The people who come in the Air Force know that they're going to be subject to discipline. They knew that when they signed up. When I ask them if it's too tough, their response is, no, it's not tough enough.
Well, the definition of discipline I like the best, and the one I think is most meaningful, consists of responsiveness to command, mission performance, morale, appearance, number of disciplinary infractions, and of course the response of authority to those disciplinary infractions. There's a popular misconception today that discipline seeks to destroy identity. I don't believe that is true at all. I think discipline defines and refines identity.
The discipline problem in the Air Force, if there is a discipline problem, and I don't really think there is. There are pockets of discipline problems in the Air Force. The reason for it is that we don't enforce the discipline at all levels. There's only one standard for discipline in this Air Force, and it's got to be applied across the board.
Discipline. Dictionaries define it two ways. First, as the control of a person achieved by enforced obedience or order through instruction, drill, or punishment, a process imposed from outside yourself. And second, as self-control, as self-applied training that shapes the mental and moral faculties, a process that comes from within. The two processes are closely connected. One can lead to the other, with some pretty impressive results.
Take a jump on yourself. Come on. Concentrate. Set. Stop. There you go, Johnny. Wrap it up now. Wrap it up. There you go, Jimmy.
We have a certain drill here that we use where we intercept the ball, and just as the youngster intercepts this ball, he is hit. He's getting conditioned to this so that when it happens into a game to him, he doesn't think the world's come to an end. It's the fact that something happened to him every day of his life on this practice field.
Come on, Bet. Come on, Bet. Now! Come on. Hey, D! Have some discipline on yourself.
Discipline in a football team is like discipline in life or raising a family or anything else that you must have it. We wear the same uniform. We look basically the same when we put on that uniform. We react the same. We have certain drills that teach this type of discipline. If a person is not willing to succumb to this type of discipline, he doesn't have a place on a football team. They sometimes think it's a bad thing, but I think once they accept the fact that there are results from this and the results are good, they're very concerned with it to start with, but after a while they're conditioned to it and like it. And it pays off.
Coach McKay expects high standards. To get them, he disciplines in practice so that his players practice discipline in games. The same thing happens in the Air Force, except that standards are more stringent, discipline more important.
Those guys are far out. They fly within 6 feet of each other. They really have to have their thing together. And I do too. These guys depend on me to have an airplane that works every time, all the time. If I screw up, well, all I know is I got to have my thing together too, just as much as they do.
What makes an Air Force mechanic's job especially pressing is that he and everyone else in the Air Force is involved in managing the most awesome destructive capability in the history of the world. It's a responsibility that calls for the tightest controls, the lowest margin of error, and the highest level of efficiency. As long as the Air Force is authorized to be a ready fighting force, a highly disciplined response on all levels remains absolutely essential.
I'm on the base softball team, and we've got a championship team. We're in the playoffs tonight. At first, I thought the coach was kind of tough on us. If we gave him any crap or didn't follow the standards for the plays he set down for us, we got benched. I'm on that team because I wanted to be there. And if I don't follow those standards, I just don't fit into that team. Being a machinist requires meeting rigid standards and specifications. If these standards aren't met, the parts won't fit properly. It's kind of like people in the Air Force. If they don't meet these standards and requirements, they don't fit either. So whether it's working here on the lathe or on a softball team or just keeping my room clean, they all require certain standards that the guys upstairs set up for me. And as long as I'm on this team, I'll follow through with them. I've got to. Other people depend on me.
The problem is not really justifying discipline. After thinking about it rationally, its justification becomes obvious. What isn't so obvious is the absolute necessity for the standards that must accompany discipline. Take, for instance, the views of a man who's been through 3 wars, shot down 3 times, evaded capture twice, and has been a prisoner of war.
When I got out of line in the old days, you went to the cavalry for a month and shoveled manure. You didn't get a letter of reprimand. You didn't get anything else. That was a strict discipline. I believe some of the younger people, when they come in, not having, now this is some of them, but not having had authority They haven't had too much authority to deal with them. They are slightly awed with authority in a way. They're afraid of the man. They're afraid he's going to jump, his supervisor's going to jump down his neck. So he, in a way, and he doesn't want to accept responsibility because sometimes they haven't had too much responsibility. So this is a hard thing for the young one to overcome. Then on the other side, we have that 18, 19-year mid-range NCO who never really got ahead, but he kind of resents the younger one because he had to go through that real strict type of discipline himself, and now the Air Force is getting a little permissive, and they kind of resent this. They kind of resent the younger man not having to go through the same thing they do. Now this causes a big breakdown in communications to me.
In the armed forces of a democracy, the giving and the taking of an order has always been a delicate matter. I first became aware of this problem way back in World War II when I was commissioned on the battlefield at Bastogne. One day I was an enlisted man, a sergeant. The next day I was a commissioned officer, a gentleman by act of Congress. I remember how hard it was to shift into the new role, even to accept a salute from an old friend. We all undergo changes that require us to react differently in different roles. Unless we understand these reactions, we're apt to become victims of emotions all out of proportion to the situation.
Hold it, Sarge. Take your hands out of your pockets and put your hat on.
Yes, sir.
Put it on right and keep your hands out of your pockets. What outfit are you in?
What?
What outfit are you in?
1365th.
Who's your first sergeant?
Sergeant Edwards.
Thanks.
Who's yours?
Just keep walking, Sarge.
What's wrong here? One way to look at this kind of an exchange is to see it as a loser's game, one that's doomed to failure from the start. Dr. Eric Byrne, a psychologist, developed a school of thought called transactional analysis as a way to analyze the dealings or transactions between people in any situation. He suggested that because of early family experiences, each of us grows up with three distinct people inside us: the child, the parent, and the adult. Dr. Byrne believed that what we say to others comes from one of these three internal people. For example, listen to what happens between two workmen on a job.
Hey, have you seen my wrench?
Yeah, I think it's in the garage.
The two adults here are communicating with each other quite successfully. But see what happens when it's the parent who starts the dialogue.
Well, where did you leave my wrench this time?
Don't blame me if you can't keep up with your damn tools.
Obviously, that interaction was a complete failure. By being a parent, the first man caused his coworker to respond as a child. Such parent-child games are self-defeating and unproductive. But let's see how the theory works in a military transaction.
Haley, how many times do I have to tell you to get your hair cut according to regulations?
Christ, Sarge, why do you keep picking on me? Half the guys around here have hair as long as I do.
Both men have fallen into the trap of not talking to the adult and the other. It's the parent-child game again, and nothing useful can come out of it. Let's take a look at another one.
Underwood, they're really cracking down this week, and I think it's about time you saw the barber.
Oh, thanks, Sarge. It's really nice of you to take an interest. Really.
All right, how's this? You will get a haircut by 1800, and you will see the commander.
Here the sergeant came on as an adult, but the airman responded as a child. Then the parent inside the sergeant took over, and the whole exchange went to hell. Of course, it can happen the other way around.
Hold it, Sarge. I've been looking for you.
Morning, Sergeant.
You know the IG's coming next week?
Yes, sir, I do.
Well, where's that checklist you owe me?
Have you checked your in-basket yet this morning?
No, I haven't.
I got it in there for you late last night.
Oh, well, I guess I could have checked there first.
In these transactions, Dr. Byrne's theory can offer us useful insights into our own behavior. I also think that plain good manners, the courtesies of mutual respect, are crucial. We all know how to say yes, sir, or yes, ma'am, in a way that's a true insult. Or we can say it with the easy cordiality of an adult, of a fully confident man or woman, not a child.
They're more intelligent. They're a good bunch of people. There's no question in my mind whatsoever that we're going to have one of the finest organizations in the world in the future. We've got the young people in here now that are great. Discipline is a learning process. Learning, not an authoritative thing. I think they should know why. I don't think it should be just do it now because it's got to be done now. And the poor guy sits there and says, well, okay, it's got to be done. This is blind discipline we had years and years ago. You both have to get that same adult relationship between yourselves. Once you have this, and once the man is trained, your discipline is there. Your standards are met. He does his job. You don't have any problem.
The Air Force has an important job. In order for us to do what's demanded of us, we must abide by certain rules and standards. These standards may not always be easy or comfortable to live with, but we know they're necessary. We know they give us the cohesiveness
that was some love theme in there. Which I'm hoping is not going to evoke some sort of copyright strike, but we'll see. In the meantime, let's discover the dictionary.
Discovered the dictionary one morning. We had been listening to Sergeant Leland, who told us about bicycle safety rules. So that we would remember his talk, Sergeant Leland gave me some pamphlets for the class. They were about bicycle safety. Then he left to visit another class. While I was giving out the pamphlets, we talked about how helpful Sergeant Leland had been. Jim thought it might be a good idea to write him a letter, thanking him for talking with us and for leaving the pamphlets on bicycle safety. The class and I chose a committee to write the letter: Jim and Jean and Paul. When they finished writing the letter, Jim read it aloud.
Dear Sergeant Leland, thank you very much for your talk on bicycle safety. We were very glad to have you help us.
Jean said something was wrong. She thought the word sergeant wasn't spelled correctly. Jim asked Paul what he thought. Paul wasn't sure either, so he said, let's look it up in the dictionary. We had a large dictionary called an unabridged or most complete dictionary in our class. First, Paul checked the tabs. The tabs show the section of the dictionary where all the words beginning with a certain letter are found. Here's the S tab for the first page of words beginning with the letter S. Paul began looking for the word sergeant, going from word to word and column to column. But Jim said he knew a faster way to find a word.
You can look at the guide words at the top of the page. You see, the first guide word is the same as the first word on the page. And the last guide word is the same as the last word on the page.
So, Paul tried it. It is much faster, isn't it? Paul soon found the right page and the word, sergeant. All three of them started to spell it.
S-E-R-G-E-A-N-T.
But Jean noticed something else.
There are two ways to spell it. S-E-R-G-E-A-N-T and S-E-R-J-E-A-N-T. Which is right?
Paul thought both spellings were right, but perhaps they'd better ask. I told them that both spellings are acceptable, but that where there is more than one spelling shown in the dictionary, the first spelling is usually preferred. So they used the first or preferred spelling, S-E-R-G-E-A-N-T. There.
Dear Sergeant Leland, thank you very much for your talk on bicycle safety. We were very glad to have you help us. Before you came, we had only a fair idea.
Jean didn't like that part.
The word fair. I don't think it's right. Yes, it is. No, it's not. Fair means like the color of your hair. No, fair means pretty good.
Paul thought the word had still a different meaning and a different spelling.
It should be spelled F-A-R-E, I think, and it means the price you pay to ride the bus.
And each one thought he was right. Paul finally stopped the argument by reminding them they could look up the word fair in the dictionary to find its meaning. He began to look it up in the unabridged dictionary. But I suggested that it might be easier to find the word in one of the smaller dictionaries on my desk. I reminded them of several other dictionaries. A music dictionary of words used in the study of music. A biographical dictionary with brief stories of famous people. A geographical dictionary of places around the world. And these word dictionaries are written especially for school children. These dictionaries might help them to solve their writing problem more quickly. This beginning dictionary is for children in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grades. The junior dictionary for 6th, 7th, and 8th grades is similar, but has more words and more detailed information. While Paul, Jim, and Jean were looking up the word fair, I thought we'd review what we had learned about the dictionary. First, how to find words. Paul had found the words beginning with a particular letter by using the dictionary tabs. Jim had shown how to use guide words. Second, how to spell words. If more than one spelling is given, the first one is usually preferred. And third, we had learned that there are several kinds of dictionaries, each for a different purpose. Paul found the word fair, F-A-R-E. It meant the cost one paid for transportation. So Jim must have had in mind a different word, fair. Jean was the first to find F-A-I-R in the dictionary.
I guess fair means a lot of things.
It means just, honest, as in fair play. It means average, not bad. It means light, not dark, as in fair hair. It means clear, not stormy, as in fair weather. It can also mean a showing of products or manufactured goods, as in a county fair. And there are several other meanings of F-A-I-R, fair. What definition did Jim have in mind when he wrote fair idea?
I meant not bad, average.
Then Jim began to read the rest of the letter.
Before you came, we had only a fair idea of what bicycle safety was. Now we all have a better understanding. we want to thank you for the little books you left. We like the picture book that says to obey all
He wasn't sure how to pronounce the word. I suggested that he'd probably find the proper pronunciation in his dictionary. By using the letter tabs and the guide words, it didn't take him long to find the word. I explained that after most words in the dictionary, there is a phonetic or sound spelling of the word that tells how the word is pronounced. We can tell what this upside-down E means by looking at the bottom of the page. This is a list of diacritical marks, which explains the marks used in the phonetic or sound spelling of the word. The upside-down E represents the sound of the A in about. The second syllable is pronounced fish. And this mark shows where we should accent the word. So, the correct pronunciation is official. Other dictionaries may use different diacritical marks, but they are usually explained at the bottom of the page or on the first pages of the book. Now all they had to do was copy the letter in ink. While they did this, we reviewed 2 more points on our list. We had learned that some words have many meanings, and how to pronounce words by using the dictionary's diacritical marks. And we had learned all these things by writing a letter. It was this letter which helped us discover the dictionary.
What, may I ask, is a dear little cupcake like you doing with nasty old school books? My dear child, we haven't had school or books in ages.
No school? Really?
Why don't you get rid of that school book? You can drop them in here.
It'll get all burned up in there.
Well, of course it will, dear child. And so it should. Books tamper with man's basic, natural ignorance. Now, what could be worse than that?
But I can't burn this book. It's school property.
Nonsense! Apple sugar. You just need to get into the mood.
Books are not where it's at, teaching you how to spell cat. I know you'd rather play, so why don't you throw all your books away? Books are made for burning, the fire is already yearning to put an end to any learning.
1, 3, 5, 9, throw them in, the fire's fine.
Put the books in the fire, see the flames growing higher. Burning books is our heart's desire.
2, 4, 6, 8, time to incinerate.
Books will not make you wise, and reading's bad for your eyes. I am sure you agree, so why don't you give all your books to me? Books are made for burning, fire is already yearning to put an end to any learning.
This one here is very good about a man named Robin Hood.
Put the books in the fire, see the flames growing higher. Burning books is our heart's desire.
Though I never liked Tom Sawyer, I won't be a book destroyer.
Books can only confuse, teaching you things you can't use. You should listen to me. Burning your books will set your mind free.
Any excuse to show that. Dictionary's a book. Yeah. Thanks for joining us today. There was a lot of yelling going on. A lot of bad behavior going on. But I think we did okay. I think we figured it out thanks to the dictionary. But I appreciate you tuning in and watching. You can certainly support our efforts. One way is by hitting the like button or the thumbs up button. Another way is you can go to avgeeks.com and see other things that we have online, and including a 24/7 show, which is comprised of other things we've digitized and other shows we've done in the past. I was just looking today to see. We have seen 3,339 films so far, and this is episode 681. So according to this report, I think the 333rd one was Selling Power of Confidence, which we showed yesterday. So that was the 3,333rd one that we showed. Now, there's all sorts of duplicates and things that didn't get listed, so, that's a very... the number doesn't 100% mean anything. But if you like what you're seeing, you can donate to also patreon.com/avgeeks, which is kind of like a subscription tip jar, or just buy some coffee at ko-fi.com/avgeeks. Very much appreciate your comments and your eyeballs. And we'll be back again tomorrow. Tomorrow's what, Friday? This week is so weird. But beware the rewind devil. We'd prefer that you please rewind and love each other. So everybody take care, and we'll see you soon.